press and record now. So therefore we are, because you're right. A
Well,
lot
I
of
mean,
the
maybe
magic gets
like what
lost. Something you can pull off that I know that I can't do. And I'm surprised you don't do it,
I don't.
because when I saw it, I was like blown away, is your facial hair. When you had, I can't grow a beard.
I
When you popped on that board meeting with facial hair, I commented on it because it really was striking to me.
what? Well, thank you.
You pull off facial hair really well.
It's. I mean, thank you. And oof, dude, like all the things. Well, you shared a lot. So, like, thank you for the beard compliment. I have an amazing photo. I get guidance from my children. I have an amazing photo. I might show you where the beard is half off, like completely half off, like a line. And then I like to do different. I don't know, like stylish, like I don't know, stylish. It's fun things for my kids because they think it's weird that you're. It is kind of strange that where it feels strange. It's actually probably really normal because we're hairy people, right? And we do all these pretend things to like pretend we're not just like mammals, or because we're just mammals. And I like medium care. I think really, really in my heart, I know, no, I don't really even think I exist in this way. Like I just am like pretending to be in this like suit that I'm wearing, right? And like I'm other stuff. That may sound like woo, but I also believe that too. And I think scientifically also, there's some data that would support that, like molecularly, in terms of space between molecules. Like we're not separate,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like that's true.
Yep.
That's true for me. Like I've experientially, I have felt that, and so I don't. While I care about the science, like actually a lot, or part of me does, there's a part of me that just cares more about the experience. So I love experiential education. I mean, like and it's not new. It's just stating it in a way that's different. So so many things about the hair. So my hair is just does this thing, right? I'm bored in this body, and I did a thing today. Like I combed it, which I normally don't do that because I was like, oh, I'm going to be on a thing with Phil. I want to show
Yep.
up in a way that
Yep.
like society would say is like a normal way to show up, right? And no, that's not entirely true either. And I want to show up for you, and because I care about you, and I don't know you super well, but like I feel like we're like sometimes I say like new old friends, which I think is also true. I feel that, and I want to show up for people. So there's other people, like hopefully people watch this. If they do, I want to show up in a way for them too that is like authentic and values their time and energy. And I also just want to do really whatever I want to do at any given moment. And I like still am playing this game of like all the kind of BS. Can I curse on your podcast? Is that okay? Yeah,
Yeah, you
or like
can. Yeah.
maybe kids watch it. So disclaimer, like if kids watch this, I'm gonna say probably
I could just put an explicit sign after the episode.
okay. That's
Yeah.
great. Or like, or just I'm probably not gonna say the F word for the children, just so parents can plan ahead. If your kids are watching this, you're an amazing parent.
Yeah.
Or not. I don't know. But it's cool your kids watch this.
Are you going to show your kids?
I don't know. They're like,
Well, then you're not an amazing parent. Is that?
I don't know. I'm saying for people that are watching it. Oh, well, I show my kids this podcast. I thought you meant would they come and
Yeah.
beyond?
No. Will you show them this?
Yeah, dude, that's the like
Well, they see. That's what I
reason
mean.
I
You're a good
shaved.
parent.
Okay, 5 things. I also have a unique brain. You may notice this and may have noticed this already. Well, I don't know, actually. Some people think I'm highly organized and systems oriented. I can do that. I have a lot of my day today is time blocked. I have many schedules. They're everywhere, right? Because I'm like, I want to show up my people and people I care about, my family and all my people, right? And like, I want to show up in a way that like, yeah, like acknowledges their experience and their life because it's different than the way I experience it. And like, if I just did whatever I wanted to, I would move way slower and I would like, it's weird. I was going to say I would lose stuff, but I wouldn't because I'd move slower because I just do what I wanted to. But I'm like doing all this, like, so I get disorganized sometimes, but I have systems by which, so like, I don't have an agenda for this conversation. So this is just me, right? The rest of my day is blocked out. And I've like worked in these international boarding schools where it's like, it's built these tools that I've built the tools that I didn't know that I needed through the jobs that I've had, right? To be able to like function in society. And I like it. I like getting stuff done. And sometimes if I just go with my natural predisposition, my unique brain, right? And some people, I've not been diagnosed with ADHD, but I think it's something that has judgment associated with it. And I think that it's also, there's both in it, people judge it. I think that's accurate. And I'm not self-diagnosed. I'm doing some research around some people in my life who would not like to be named on a podcast and who I recognize my own brain functions very much like theirs. And so I'm like, oh, wow. I'm like learning about myself. And I have 3 things, if I think about, that I wanted to ask you that are important-ish or were 5 minutes ago. Your hair product is a powder.
Is a powder called Tribal Chimp.
Okay.
I'm saying this. I'm not getting any kickback from them, if only.
Yeah, no,
But
I don't like do that. And so, but today I got a little thing at a little sample thing because I don't know. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
maybe it's an act of self care to like wash my face with other than just like hand soap so I'm like doing that. And I don't know, maybe it's fun to have fancy hair or something. So I just like wear a hat
Well, so
and
yeah, so I know
do
a lot of people who wear hats, and I think that you have a head that works for a hat. I
that.
don't. I don't have a
Oh,
hat.
dude,
I don't have a head that works for a hat. I can
dude,
tell
no,
you
I
100%.
push
I'm
back.
my face is too narrow. My ears stick out too far. No,
Okay,
I'm not a hat guy.
I got 3 hats that don't work for my head.
Yeah. So this.
I'm gonna put them
Okay.
next to my sleeve, and you'll see. They might,
Yeah.
dude. I think
I know that there are styles of hats, and I know I could look into it. When I wear a hat, I don't think I look good.
well, that's all it matters for you.
But I think that there is an important part to what we're talking about. And I would also say this is the most John Kelley podcast episode that I could imagine we would have done because I agree. Like we don't know each other super well, but we have laid on the floor together in the dark, in
Yeah, outside
quiet.
on the ground. And that's just
So
I think that
I
like
don't,
I'm
I,
like I'm
I
like, "Hey,
haven't done that with
no?"
many people.
And it was like, "Yeah, dude, we should for sure lay down on the ground." I don't lay down
Exactly.
on the ground very often. More
Well,
so
there you
these days.
go. More, but yeah, the number of people I've laid on the ground just had people walking past us too. But where was I go? If I wore a hat, I've got a
Wow.
hat actually right behind me. I'm going to wear a hat real quick. Watch this.
Okay. I'm gonna get a coffee thing. Hold on, and then you put your hat on. Sometimes my coffee gets cold. This is a little my kids have said this is a life hack. If you have coffee that's cold, it's funny. I got feedback on that. Dude, your hat's sick. I got feedback on
So
the
it says,
outfit. My kids were like, we're like changing all these shirts and stuff. I was like, hey guys, should I wear like, adult pants or whatever? And they're like, I have a friend who calls them like hard pants and soft pants, which is funny. And I loved it. So I'm like, I'm in soft pants right now. I'm in like sweatpants. And they were like, no, it's like a mullet. Like but it's not I don't feel like the correlation is exact where it's like,
business at top, casual down below, right? Yeah.
right. Like,
I'm also wearing sweatpants,
it was
but
cool. And it was like, and it became inappropriate, which is funny. Oh, here's the life hack. If you take your coffee and then you pour it back into the thing, if it's cold, and then you just pour it back, you don't have to heat it up. Look at that. Does that make sense?
so it's touching the warmth and it's heating the back up.
Yeah. Like the solution to pollution is dilution. That may not correct, but it's like I'm pouring this back in, and the overall warmth of the coffee decreases ever so slightly. But then I pour it back in, and the coffee's hot. Anyway.
You've got a great looking kitchen, by the way. I just have to note that.
Yeah,
I
it's
love the tiling.
good from a distance.
It's good from
I mean,
here.
like,
I don't want to look up close.
like we did this. Like I live in a super old house. I just was hanging out last week in New York City doing this art thing with this woman who has a house from like 1562, who I walked around the city with when I was doing this art thing with Protect Our Winters, and she's with like some cool like 11th hour racing, which is like a really neat like race around the world, purpose driven stuff. I'm misspeaking about it, but if you interested, like it's really cool. We walked around the city. I'd never been to New York, and she said that her house, she was going home to like make this wonderful meal for friends. And she said her house was built in like 1562 or something. And she's lived south of London in a place I don't remember the name. And I was about to say that my house is old because we were talking about old houses. Dude, my house is like, you have socks as old. I mean, like maybe, right?
How
It's
old is your house here then?
1908, 1906 to 010. Like I don't have confirmation. Man, it's like an old, they called the niche. Because there's like it was one of the first houses built here in where I live in Talmadge.
My house that I'm here in Vermont right now, it's 1875.
Yeah. So in Vermont,
It's got old beams and
so
everything.
I lived in Vermont for a while. It feels very Vermont, but like I'm in Central Oregon. Like there's no houses.
That's old.
There's no house. I mean, like I have this photo of it. I'll send you later. It's like of the photo in 19. Like there's like 3 other buildings in where I live. It's really cool. And the kitchen was all like, I don't know, dude. It was like looked very different. There's cabinets drywalled into that wall that I didn't know were even there.
Wow.
We just like demoed all this, and I had a friend who like came and helped us out. We paid him a little. He charged us like nothing, and then we just like did this, and so it looks great. Like when you're on this, it's like super good. And if I went over, like there's like, I don't know, like I did this work, and I'm like, I can only work in old houses because nothing's square because I like don't take the time to do the cuts, or I don't really know what I'm doing. But a friend like did all this. So it's aesthetically looks way better. But if you go in, there's like those cabinets and stuff are like too high. just because I am a short man. I'm like 5'6". I thought it was 5'7" for like super long time until like last year. And then I didn't know I was not telling the truth. I went and got measured by the physician or whatever. And they're like, or maybe I shrunk. I don't know. They're like, you're like 5'6". And I was like, no, it's on my driver's side. And they're like, dude, like, it's
Yeah,
subjective.
it's fact.
And I was like, oh, like, oh, so I did curse, but you can edit that out. But
It's okay, yeah.
yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm like, okay, great. And then I was like, oh, I kind of felt bad. And I was like, what? Well, do I feel, this is the thing about the hair. Well, do I feel bad? Cause I'm like, it's both. There's a part of me that's like, I wish I was taller, but I'm like, the real part of me, like, dude, I'm like, whatever. I don't care. And now
Yeah.
what I do is this, if the real truth is actually, I thought I was taller. And if people want to actually know, I just say what I just said, which is like, dude, I lied for like, I didn't know I was lying, but I lied for like a long time about being 5'7", which is incredibly tall, of course. And I
It's
really,
unbelievable.
which is way different.
All right, I just want to quickly take the listeners on a journey. We were talking about my hair. I went to go and put a hat on. I came back, you were getting coffee. We talked about your kitchen. Then we talked about cupboards, the age of our house, and the fact that you are 5'6" instead of 5'7".
Yeah,
Now, I want to also go back, if I can, and say, can we say that we both might have ADHD based on if we were to follow this pathway of how the mind works and how two people can talk?
Oh, dude. I find this, I just like kind of wanted to show up as my whole self and like, and also in different spaces, like, yes. So what you said, yes. And
also into conclusion though, this is all centered around the kind of mindset that we have around like why we do certain things to try to, for the better of other people. Like we've just kind of said, like, uh, going back to me wearing a hat, right? Or if I was to take this hat off, I could make my hair look the way it was before because I use this tribal trim. There's a part of me though that gives me,
I wrote down
gives me
something. Go ahead.
but it gives me self-confidence. And I wonder if some of these things we're talking about, like, gives me self-confidence to be able to perform in front of other people in a way that feels that I'm not worrying about that, like how I look, because I've kind of solved that because I can control that. But the groups that I'm going to work with, I can't control those parts, right? So yes, to a degree, we can argue that like me doing the performative or like wearing the right shirt or that or being 5'7" versus 5'6", right? Some of those things are a little bit about managing our mindset prior to working with people because that's the one part we can control. So therefore, it's valuable, right? Because I've had people say like, you don't have to, or like I typically get my hair cut before a big job because I like to be looking my best.
Yeah.
And people are like, I didn't even notice you needed to have a haircut. But I noticed. So does that matter, right?
Does it? I think, man, like, does it matter? I mean, ish. I think that right now for me, it's like this idea that multiple things can be true is really real for me. I just did this event in New York City, and like, that's an example that popped into mind. Like, well, so when I got a haircut. I was in New York City with Protect Our Winners. I was doing this like live art event, which was really it was maybe like, I sometimes think about people's 10 best days. Like when I do coaching stuff, I'm often like, and it's also like, if you see a very different space. It's like, I talk not very much and I have a script, not a script. I have a lesson plan, just like in education. I'm like, here's where I know we want to get to. And I believe based on the information I have, when we go into it. And I want to start here and I want to get here. And also I'm okay with that being like sort of iterative and moving through this process that I have, and I want to get to this endpoint. And so like getting a haircut, right? So like I wanted to show up to this event in New York City, pivoting back to that. Like if I'm wanting to articulate this to you clearly, because you asked me a question, right? I wanted to get a haircut because I wanted to show up for the people that I was there to serve in the best way possible. And I wanted to feel good about the way I looked. And so I also like wanted to have a cool experience, maybe more than that in New York City. I didn't know I was going to get a haircut till I got there. Like, I mean, I was kind of wanted it, but like my barber here was expensive. I couldn't book him. And I got this, as I just walked, they put me up in this hotel and I walked by and there was like a psychic reading thing on the street. And there was like a haircutting thing. And I was like, dude, I'm not with my kids. I can do whatever I want. I have this obligation tonight, whatever. So I like went and got a haircut. And then I was like, oh, this woman who's in there, it's a longer answer than maybe you wanted, but this is the truth. So she was like, I was like, oh, I have this narrative about who people are based on the stories of what I see, right? And it's all these like men with like haircuts that I kind of want. And then this woman who like no one's booking, right? And I'm like, I'm telling myself a story about like what people and my stories are often good, but they're still not true. I just want to know the actual story. And so I'm just going to lean in. And this is important to me, right? This haircut, like it's like kind of, I don't know, it's like a big deal. And the event was like a big deal. I mean, in terms of like big deals, right? I didn't know how big a deal till I got there. It was a way
Right.
bigger deal than I thought. And it was super cool. Anyway, but this lady was from like near Kazakhstan and like had this really cool story. We connected about language and places and people and just because I've worked in international schools. And she gave me like, I've had more people mention this hair. She might have given me the best haircut of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like not that expensive and she was legit. And then it was fun being in the city because I like was there for a week. So I got to see this person like, fist bumped on the street and stuff. And it also made me kind of like I've never spent that much time in New York and I feel like I love New York. And I never ever thought I'd say that. But a guy said to me, this guy worked at the hotel. I see him every day and he's like, oh, and he lived there his whole life. And he's like, it's the smallest big city you'll ever be in. I was like, dude, what do you mean? And he's like, well, where you from? I'm like, I lived in international boarding schools for like 17 years, like and about 150 people, like that many people is like ideal, I think, in terms of also educational models. And he was like, yeah, it's a city. I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? He's like, oh yeah, like I know, like my block is my community. And I was like, oh,
Mm.
man, I told myself a story about New York City that was also New York City is all the things, right? Like I haven't been
Mm-hmm.
yelled at, like like I don't get yelled at very often. And I like get yelled at by like two people, you know? That's okay. Like they're not that I can see that with equanimity and I also had beautiful, beautiful moments. It's all the things. So that's how I get my haircut.
It's yeah, but I've yeah, and I agree with like all the statements. I think it's like yeah, you do it for others, but you do it for yourself, and that's okay, right? Like we are human beings, and we're doing our best to try to be there for people, but we in order for us to do that, we do need to look after ourselves. So I think that actually
Yes.
this kind of leads in a little bit to some of the questions in it. Well, the one question I had is you have so I have a bachelor's in English literature, and so I try to like how do I draw my English literature stuff, and I also have bachelor's in sports science, two very odd and not
Okay.
aligned things, but like how do I join those and make them a part of my work in adventure ed? You have a master's in adventure ed, but you have a bachelor's in fine art, and I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that art is so important to you because of the artwork you did. You just referenced you in New York City because of your artwork, also aligned with your environmental care and all that kind of. There's a lot of a mix there, right? So, what's the combination? Where do you draw influence from your art for your adventure ed work, and where does adventure influence your art? Like, what's the byproduct of those two parts of John Kelley?
The tagline for my art is art, adventure, awesomeness. The most succinct answer.
I mean, maybe this will lead you into a saying it. I don't know, but this is my interpretation
Okay, tell me.
of what I consider how art and adventure align with you. If I was to define adventure, adventure is doing something that's unknown or novel that has an element of risk and an element of education to it. Like, doesn't have to be physical risk; it could be emotional. You have started to put your art out there a little bit more. You have been asked to go to this event that you were asked as well in that event to do art in front of people.
Yeah.
I think that is your adventure, right? Like art and adventure. How does that line up? Well, yes, you're doing art around things that could seem adventurous, mountains and the like, right?
Yeah.
But you're having to bring your art into an adventurous space by putting yourself out there. And isn't that a perfect like example of adventure ed right there?
Dude, like this is it, man. Like this is what I think. So like thank you for being I call it compassionate mirror. Like that's what I feel like what all this stuff is. It's like you're reflecting back. So I just say the things, right? So I know what it means to me. Okay, so art adventure, what do you think awesomeness is? If I say, hey Phil, my name's John Kelley, I like have an art project that's called Thunder Mountain Works because like I'm just gonna say that. So art adventure awesomeness. What do you think awesomeness is? Hey, here's my art, it's mountain stuff, art adventure awesomeness. You got the art, you got the adventure correlates. And actually, I didn't think of it in that way. And that's actually really true what you just said. What do you think awesomeness is? I think it's the hardest one.
I can maybe just the overall experience, the feelings afterwards could be described as like awesome in whatever way they present themselves.
Yeah, it's close. So for me, it was like, I'm going to make art. I'm going to have adventures. I'm going to increase awesomeness, meaning like I'm going to be of service to myself and to others. Cause like it's easy for me to be in these serving spaces. And also it's not love if my self validation comes from being useful. Right. And I only know it's like for me and for other people and different bodies and different spaces, like that has to be like a screaming voice at them, I imagine, or people have shared with me. Right. So then I did it for myself. It's like, oh, dude, I'm great at theory. I'm like garbage at practice. And it was true for me. Like if you talk to me like without at that point in time, it was like 5 years ago. Dude, like I've done all the things. I built myself into the person that I needed the most when I was in high school, which was like a person that had all the tools in the toolbox to take care of a struggling 15 who was deeply, 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 deeply struggling. And then I served and I compromised myself and never actually did the work, but just like I was called to be of service in that space. And that felt really good and felt really true. As I did this reflection and did a lot of this work, like this DYL Design Your Life book, like changed my trajectory of my life in the last 3 years. And this Martha Beck book, like I so want to have coffee with Martha Beck. I don't know if that's possible. But she's like, I didn't realize how I sent her a voice message once on the internet. And a dear friend of mine was like, do you know she's like Oprah's? I was like, no, I didn't know that. I just liked her book. And I think that my kids would say like, that's statistically unlikely. I'm like, yeah, but like still that's what I would like to have happen someday, but I don't think it will. And awesomeness is service. Like,
John, I'm gonna work on this for you.
yeah,
This is
okay,
my new task.
yeah. I mean,
I
like,
don't know her. I don't know if I could connect with her, but if I do, I'll get
yeah,
you two connected.
I just want to like have coffee with her. And so I started off with just like, whatever, like here's some paintings and stuff. So it's art, it's painting about places that I find deeply connecting and meaningful for me. Like I've heard them called, I ran a program in Morocco last year or a year before that was where a teacher I was running it with called them thin spaces. And I think it's a Christian in origin, but it's this idea of like these spaces in the world that are thin between like our current reality and the like beyond, that I found so beautiful. And so I wrote a poem about it. But so anyway, there's art and it's mutually beneficial. So like I sell it and I give away like kind of a lot of it, but I just make it. So the art is making and it's meditative. Like I'll render something and I just do weird stuff, like atypical stuff. I have a fine art degree and people would be like, you can't light that on fire, or you should paint with watercolor. You're not painting with color and acrylic. And I just do whatever I want cause it looks cool. And I could do like stuff, but I just do what I want. And it's good for me. And then adventure is like sharing adventures about places I've been. And I don't do this that much. I had aspirations when I started of like, I got a few trip reports and like, of just like adventures can be different and you can go out with your kids and like, I don't know. And I want to put some in there that are more like urban adventures. Cause I think sometimes like my adventures, I've had the privilege of being able to travel a bunch and like there's adventures, like I have adventures in the yard and like I had adventures last year running this like forest school, which is really cool. I got to spend a year in the forest with no running water, no electricity with like little kids. And it was beautiful in ways and really challenging in others. But like there's adventure, like 2 seconds, like there's 2 seconds for me right now. There's adventure. And I think even in the city, like Central Park, like I went to a presentation at the Explorers Club, which is super cool. I didn't know that existed. It's awesome. So adventure can be anywhere. And I want to highlight that more. And then awesomeness was just like, how do I be of service? Right. Like I like, it's always been something that just like, and like selfless service. Like sometimes like I'll put stuff on Instagram, but like a lot, I don't know. I just like email people like, hey, what you're doing is rad. And I don't know what your experience is like. I don't know your lived experience. Like, and so like, I also don't want to claim to know what you need because I don't know what you need. And you may not need what I have, but I'm here. If my art or my voice or my actions can serve you, and I'm in a space where I have space for that, and I typically only offer and tell them what I can do if it's a thing I can do. And then sometimes people say, that's awesome. And then they don't ever respond to me. That's fine. And then sometimes people say, let's get on the phone. And I go, great. And like the first time I did that, I was like, dude, what am I doing? And I ended up meeting this guy named Scott who runs this thing's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's like this nonprofit on the Navajo Nation that like, there's no bike shop. There's no bike shops. This is like, I don't know how many years, a few years ago. And this thing's still going. I was just looking at it like last weekend. This is super cool. Silver Stallion Bikes and Coffee. And this guy was like, how do I help Navajo youth and other youth in this area have bicycles? There's no bike shop. So he created this thing and they were both just like amazing, lovely people.
So I just sort of like kind of round it up in terms of a bubble of like, you've really referenced like the importance of your art. You've referenced the importance of the adventure. You've referenced now like the adventure that you had for yourself, and then also your definition of awesomeness, which is really awesome to hear because I like this idea of like the service to others and also like doing stuff that matters, which is like, I think that, if I line it with your work with designing your life, like as I was reading up on that a little bit, it was like how to live a meaningful life is like kind of, you're just trying to fill it with more awesomeness. If you could like just in your definition, it's like do stuff for you, do stuff for others. And how do you take some of the things that you really love and make those align with some awesomeness?
It's like it does happen to be mutually beneficial. right? Like, and that's true too. Like I recognize that piece. Like if somebody, I don't know, I did a donation a handful of years ago. They like, it was for I forget which one it was. One of them got picked up by like famous climbers, right?
Yeah, saw a photo of you with Tommy Caldwell.
Well,
Yeah, I saw.
that was
Oh,
at
that
the
was last week.
last week. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought such a nice guy. We talked about like middle school books for our kids, and like I don't know. It was funny. I had this moment. This is like I haven't told anybody this. I brought out some Prince of Smith Rock I did for the American Alpine Club. I don't know. It's like an annual fund donation. They did all these. They did like tons of Prince. But I think it's my favorite piece is the one of Smith Rock because it did the most good, and it's like beautiful. But it's not my typical medium. It's like watercolor. I did acrylic too. Watercolor people would say like, "Tom, what are you doing?" But it's cool. And then that raised this. I don't even know how much money because I've given away prints too. Like I gave away. They licensed prints for like a I don't license. They just said, "Can we take the prints?" And I said, "Yeah, take them and I'll sign them all." So they did like three. I had this huge stack of prints. It was cool. Tommy Caldwell was like where I grew up climbing. You know, like we grew up in the same area and like kind of like I did my undergrad in Fort Collins uh, and we have mutual friends and I've never met him. And my son is like, "Ah," like freaking out about, and he has this book, you know, whatever. But that he wanted me to sign. That's so beat up. Like we walked around Peru with it for a month. It's just like beat. But I don't know. It was cool. Like I just was like, I don't know, I'm trying to be deeply empathetic about what that would be like to be known in that way. And it probably feels like awesome and not that great. Right. Of like, and so I was just like, I just want to be as a person. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of people want stuff from you. And like, that didn't feel good. So it was just like, hey man, like I brought you a print. I actually was like, I brought him a print of Smith Rock and I was like, hey, cause he was like at the thing. We are like doing the thing together with Prospector Winners. Cause he's, you know, part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, hey, I brought you a print. You want to sign it? And he's like, oh yeah. And I was like, oh, you want to sign my son's book at the same time? So we like signed things together. It was really fun. Yeah. It was cool.
Mhm. So I want to to conclude this conversation because it's one of those things I can't even imagine how to like draw. Sometimes I try my best to like wrap for half an hour and then just do a quick conclusion. When we
Okay.
started, we were talking about hair and how we physically show up, and now we've kind of gone all the way around to like how do we actually show up and share awesomeness with the world.
Yeah.
So I want to just push. I just want to push compliment to you, John, because I very value the connection that we have and also the conversations that we get to have because we're yes, if people are listening to this, they're like, how did we get to here? Like this is a journey. But like that is a little bit of like the reality of what we're experiencing anywhere in the world. So we're a microcosm right now of the chaotic nature of our minds. And but I want to share appreciation for you because you're sharing our adventure and awesomeness with the world, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, this is amazing. So, I got to learn so much about myself today through your compassionate mirror reflection of me. And so, like, I hope that I'm grateful for you. I hope that I've been of service to this work that you do. And let's like hang out.